In the grand palace of Amazi, surrounded by high walls and guarded gates, they lived a princess named Ziko. She was the only daughter of King Obba, a ruler feared throughout the kingdom. King Obba is a mean king who does not listen to counsel. He imposes laws and rules on the people without considering if it would be in their best interest. And so the people of Amazi were not so fond of their king. They hoped and prayed for a day a better leader would emerge, one who would lead them with a more accommodating spirit and care about their well-being. But that also is a far-fetched dream, considering the fact that the position of kingship or queenship is passed down by birth from one king or queen to their offspring to the villagers. Princess Ziko was a mystery. No one had ever seen her. The king had kept her hidden, preparing for the day she would take his place as queen. King Obba had great plans for his daughter. He was raising her to be a dictator queen, one who would command obedience and rule with an iron hand, just as he did. She had been isolated inside the palace all her life, and she knows nothing of the outside world. All her education is geared towards becoming a queen one day as the only child of the reigning king. But Ziko is different. She's also a very lonely young woman with no friends or relative within her age bracket. Her maidens speak to her so formally and in fear. Even though she had tried to make them loosen up day after day, she sat in her gilded chambers, staring out of the tall windows at the village below. She watched children play in the dirt and villagers commuting to and fr their daily struggles. She longed to be among them, to laugh, to work, and to have friends of our own. But the palace walls were her prison. One night, after years of loneliness, Ziko decided she could no longer bear it. With her coronation only 2 months away, she knew her time was running out. If I don't explore the village now, I may not be able to do that after I am crowned queen and my identity exposed to the villagers, she thought to herself, determined to make a bold and endearing decision. Princess Ziko slipped out of our chambers dressed in simple clothes she had sewn herself and crept past the guards. The cool night air filled her lungs as she stepped beyond the palace gates. For the first time, her heart raised with both fear and excitement. She walked into the village, her scarf pulled low over her face, and marvel at the bustling streets. The villagers were full of life, returning to their humble homes while having inaudible conversations, laughing and making jokes of each other. The next morning, Princess Ziko began her life as a commoner. She introduced herself as Zina and quickly found ways to associate with the people. She went to the village market and was stunned at how busy and bubbly it is. She sat through conversations of complaint among some traders, and they complained bitterly about the high tax the king imposed on their goods. Ziko joined in on the conversation, pretending to be a trader from the next village. The Marite traders didn't know she was the princess, and so they discussed freely with her about their challenges. Zik also went to the village stream to fetch water. She met some village maidens there, and they discussed freely about the narrow pathway that leads to the stream and how they have written petitions to the king to fix and expand the pathway. Ziko joined in on the conversation, and they all talked freely with her, thinking she was a citizen like them. From the stream, Ziko went to different farmlands and even worked alongside farmers in the field. She listened to their stories and learned of their struggles, the crushing taxes, the lack of schools, and the constant fear of the king's punishment. But despite their hardship, the people of Amazi were kind. They shared what little they had and found joy in simple things: music by the fire, shared meals amongst themselves, and the bonds of community. They found ways to organize simple events to connect with each other, and the children played freely under the moonlight every night without fear. Ziko was deeply moved. How could my father be so blind to their goodness? She wondered. Back in the palace, King Obba was furious at his daughter for disobeying him and escaping from the palace. He has sent out his guards on various occasions to go search for his daughter, but they couldn't find her because she had blended so well amongst the people, and the king was careful to not expose to the people that his daughter is living amongst them for the sake of his daughter's safety, and so he stayed put and awaited the day Princess Ziko would return home. She cannot leave as a peasant forever, he said to himself. She would get tired of dirt pretty soon and return to her rightful place. As days turned into weeks, Zik became a beloved part of the village. She attended town's meetings and heard the people's hopes for a better future. She played with the children, teaching them songs and games, and visited the elderly who shared their wisdom and stories of the past. For the first time in her life, Ziko felt alive, but her time amongst the villagers was bittersweet. She knew she would have to return to the palace and take the throne. The thought filled her with dread, not because she feared being queen, but because she feared failing the people she had come to love. After a month, Princess Ziko made her way back to the palace. She walked through the gates, her Heart heavy, but determined, she knew what kind of queen she wanted to be, a queen who served her people, not ruled over them. Her father was happy to see her. I knew you wouldn't survive for too long living amongst the commoners, he said as he embraced her. Princess Ziko loves her father, but she wants to be a different person than him. Father, I enjoyed living amongst the people. For the first time in my life, I felt my heart beaten with purpose. I will be the people's queen, she said as she walked back to her chambers, leaving her father wondering what she meant. Music. The day of our coronation arrived, and the entire kingdom gathered at the palace to see their new queen. When Princess Ziko stepped onto the balcony, the villagers gasped. There in her royal robe stood the girl who had walked alongside them, who had shared their struggles and joys, a girl whom they have grown so fond of in the past week. Music. It is her, someone shouted. Xena is our queen. Princess Ziko raised her hand, and the crowd fell silent. My people, she began, her voice clear and strong. For years, I watched you from behind the palace walls. I knew nothing of your lives, your struggles, or your dreams. But when I walked among you, I learned more than I could have ever imagined. You showed me kindness, resilience, and hope, and now as your queen, I promise to honor you. Together we will build a better Amazi. The crowd erupted in cheers, their hearts filled with hope and true to her word, Queen Ziko set to work. She reduced taxes, built schools, and created programs to support farmers and tradespeople. She held regular meetings where anyone could speak freely about their concerns. Slowly but surely, Amazi began to change. The people love their queen not because they feared her, but because they knew she cared for them. And Queen Ziko, no longer lonely, found joy in serving her people and being part of their lives. From that day on, Amazi flourished under Ziko's reign. The story of the princess who lived amongst her people became a legend, reminding everyone that true leadership comes from understanding and compassion. This is the end of my story.